Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. In this week's video, I am playing with some more of the 2025 Spring IOD release. If you want to see what I come up with, stick around. I thrifted this organizer and knew that it needed an upcycle. The first thing I'm going to do is grab the new Eden color from DIY Paint. It's such a warm green and it just really reminds me of vintage summer. So I am going to go over this whole thing with 2 solid coats of the DIY paint. To make sure the inside is coated with the green, I am just getting this very stiff bristled brush and painting the paint on there just so the paint can get all the way down in and you can't see any wood. Next, I'm going to get out the new IOD Spring Release Brambles and Berries stamp. You see that it comes with the mask so that you can cover it up and the wild berries mold. Look how gorgeous the details of this are. There are, I would say, blueberries / raspberries and strawberries in both of these. So I'm just sticking with the berry options for this one. I'm going to put some cornstarch in and use the air dry clay. I wanted to be able to bend, since I'm just using the side with the berries on it, I wanted to be able to bend it to cover up these little holes that I'm trying to cover up on the side. So I'm going to use the air dry clay and kind of make it into what I want. I think resin would have been a great option as well, but you wouldn't have as much ability to create the shape and pick which parts you want to include. I needed the stem to be a little longer, so I cast another stem and just cut it off where I needed it to go. And that way I can make it be what I needed it to be for my project. That's the fun part about these molds. Now with clay, these are a little bit delicate, but I didn't have any problems kind of making them be piecemealed back together. You can see there's some little screw holes that I really want my molds to cover, and that's why I'm kind of melding them to lean the direction that I want them to go. I'm using Titebond Quick and Thick to get everything glued in place, and I'm letting it glue laying down so that it does not slide while it's drying. On the other side, I needed it to lean a different direction, so I just kind of snipped it off of one side and had it go the other direction so it could cover the screw holes. And then I let this dry completely overnight. After it's dry, I am going over the whole thing 2 times with the color Eden to try to saturate everything and not let any of the clay or the wood come through. I was going for a very subtle look, and then I'm going to use some black paint to go over the berries and make these blackberries. Next, I am going to wet distress this whole thing. It had a nice wood underneath, and I wanted it to be a vintage looking organizer, and so I am distressing the spaces that would naturally wear over time. DIY paint can be reactivated with water, so I like to use baby wipes so that as I'm distressing, I'm not having a whole bunch of sanding dust in my studio. Next, I'm going to decide which part of these dainty little berries I want on the front here. Again, there's strawberries and then more of a blackberry look. So I wanted to make sure I looked at them all super well. And then I decided to go with this shape on each of the drawers. I'm using a black permanent ink since I am going with the green and black look here today. I'm just making sure I clean it off and then put it on there, keeping my hand still once it is on there, and kind of tapping the whole stamp through and then pulling it off and doing it again on the other drawer. I decided to seal my paint today with DIY clear wax and just go over all of the paint and molds and stamps, and then after it's been on a little bit, kind of buff it back a little bit for a nice matte finish. Then, since it does have some of that wood coming through and it has this dainty look, I really wanted it to be distressed a little bit more, so I added some dark wax specifically over the mold and the edges, and made sure that there was some age attached to it. And I really like how this came out. On the mold, I did grab a dry brush of paint as well to kind of make the mold stand out a little bit more, and I really like how this turned out. What do you guys think? This was how project number 2 started. I upcycled this old thing that used to be a part of my personal collection from Hobby Lobby back when the JRV paper was released, and this is what I came up with. And guys, I knew at the time about the IOD trimmings for mold, but I couldn't show you yet. So here it is. This is what I had in mind to go on the top of that. And I am just going to use air dry clay and put it on the inside and glue it in there. So same as before, I'm using some cornstarch to make sure that there is a good release. Now, originally I was going to paint the flowers a different color as the green, but what I did not account for was the clay shrinkage. I mean, I know that it shrinks, but when you have it sitting inside of something and then it just dries overnight, I realized that I should have overcompensated. And did anybody else think of that Seinfeld episode with George Costanza screaming about the shrinkage? No, just me? Okay. Look how beautiful. I mean, the detail in this mold is pretty stinking amazing. I can see this on the edge of picture frames, around cylinder vessels. I mean, so beautiful. Next, I'm gonna try to do a hue that matches the paper, and I'm using DIY's Flirtatious and then a little bit of black velvet. And I just kept messing with it until I liked the shade of the color. And then I painted over the whole lid. As you can see how it shrunk a little bit. So it would have been more obvious if I just painted the inside the purple. But since I did the whole thing and then I wet distressed over the green, you could still see some of the green come back through. And I really like how this ended up. I sealed it with Liquid Patina and then went over the whole thing with dark wax so that it had an antique look to it. And I just think this box is perfect, and the trimmings for mold is going to be used a lot around here. If you guys are new here, welcome to Create Your Own Cozy. I would love it if you hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and let me know you are here. For my third and final project today, I have this wooden cake box, and I'm just sanding off the words of the top and seeing how well I can do. I do much better when I put the phone down, and I am going to do a paint wash stain type thing over this. I went on a little heavy with that first one, but I got the hang of it and watered it down a bunch and treated this prairie gray DIY paint like a stain, just like I did in last week's video. You can see that initial place that I went on, but I kept watering it down and it kind of went away. So I went over the whole thing with just one coat of this paint wash, and then was going to use the new Grass IOD permanent ink and actually do this in a nice green look, but instead decided to go with my stone gray and the new Brambles and Berries stamp. I laid it on the top, put a thin mount over the top of it so I knew exactly where I wanted it to be. Then used the stone gray ink. It was just more my style, so I decided to go with the stone gray. Although if you wanted a brighter, that green would be gorgeous, especially with the nice white paint underneath. I could see that being a gorgeous look for spring. And then I'm not going to do the paint stamp technique today because I'm going for a much more subtle look, but I am going to use some DIY paint and water it down just a bit and color in these berries. I am going to use Hay Sailor for the blueberries. I am going to use Aviary for the leaves and Cake Batter for the floral. And you can see it is this beautiful vintage look that I just love. I went over the whole thing with the clear wax to seal everything in, and so love how this cute wooden cake box turned out. I had fun again. Did you guys feel inspired to create something for your creative soul? Let me know in the comments below what your favorite project was. If you enjoyed my video, please consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell to all, and if you liked it, give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what your favorite project was. Also, if you are looking for any of the products that I use, don't forget to check me out over at createyourowncozy.com. I am having so much fun with this release. Are you guys having fun? It is just bringing out my creative energy is just having some fun. And I hope that you get inspired to create as well. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check me out over at createyourowncozy.com.